Everybody, and welcome to the series, Mind Hacks to Actually Reach Your Goals. This series was designed to be about 8 to 10 minutes a day over the period of time, a few weeks, to literally go through what are the practical steps that we need to take our lives from where we are to where we got to be. Thanks for joining us, and let's get started. Welcome to Hacking Your Mind to Achieve Your Goals. In the last episode, we spoke a little bit about this idea of neuroplasticity, and I want to sort of see if I can close this out here. Your mind is the product of just the thoughts and the actions that you've done yesterday. Think of it like that, right? You heard something, you learned something, you made a connection. It repeated itself. The connection got stronger. You stopped doing it, the connection got weaker. This is called synaptic pruning. Your brain will go into itself. If the knowledge is strengthened, it's reinforced, it gets stronger. If the knowledge is forgotten, it takes those connections and it weans them. That's why you probably knew how to work your way around a periodic table in 10th or 11th grade whenever you took chemistry. And today you probably can't do it. How come? Because you studied at night, you made a whole bunch of small little connections, you took the test, and you never thought about it again. So those connections over the course of your life weaned away. That's what deja vu is. Think of it like that, right? You're a little kid, you went to camp, they played a song, right? It was a major moment, camp and song. 20 years later, you hear the song, in your brain, it's still a connection. It's not strong, it's still a connection. And you're like, oh. And now all of a sudden you're back at camp because there's a connection between camp and song. It's not strong, but it's still there. And you have that feeling of, oh my gosh, reminds me of. You know that feeling? Great. Your mind is a computer. And it gets programmed with anything that you do that is consistent. Consistent knowledge, consistent actions. The more you review something and repeat something, the more your brain gets it. The more you review an action and repeat an action, the more your brain gets it. And if you continuously do this, your brain will create all these hacks in its system to make it go quicker and easier and quicker and easier. So what's critical about this is a couple of things. And I want to make sure we drive this home. Number one, what's critical is knowing that you are not your brain. So when you say, I can't stop biting my nails, that's not true. Your brain has a habit called biting its nails. You are a source that is the driver of what goes into the computer. Now, it may look like the computer gets it, but the computer called your brain really is not you. You are a source that is bigger, more powerful than the computer. You're a soul. And so you can actually take the computer anywhere. You can teach it to not bite its nails. You can teach it to be more sensitive. You can teach it to learn a new language. Now, as you get older, things start to change. When you're little, it's like nothing else in there. But okay, that doesn't matter. The things you want to do in life as you get older, I think, are micro anyways. And we have to worry about what we can't do. We should worry about what we can do. At the end of the day, as long as you know the basics, which is repetition of specific things, create neural connections that are strong. And neural connections that are strong allow you to do things without a lot of effort because it's already in your brain. It doesn't require you a lot of effort to brush your teeth. It did when you were little. Because when you were little, someone was training you to go to that room called the bathroom near your bedroom and go brush your teeth. And it was hard and it was exhausting because you kept on forgetting. At some point, you can walk into that room, brush your teeth, and you use no brain power because you don't need any brain power because it's already automatic. It may be physically tiring, but it's not mentally tiring. The baseball player that's learning how to bat when he's 9 or 10 is using much more brain power than the baseball player that's getting older because the memory, he's using his brain power for other things, for learning pitches, fine, but the basic swing his brain knows about. That person who's trying to figure out how to navigate around a legal document when he first comes out of law school is having a much harder time drafting than someone who's been in the business for 20 years. Now that guy 20 years or the woman 20 years may be doing higher level thinking. It doesn't matter. The action that once took you a lot of mental power, and if you remember we did in the episode 2, a lot of mental discipline that action now requires less discipline because your brain has oriented around it. And so in your brain is some type of connection that quickly moves you from 1 to 2, that creates myelin, that makes the moves easier, that allows you to do things in a much more automatic way. It doesn't require the same level of mental energy to accomplish the goal. Let's circle back and sort of get to the end of this. When you make a resolution, right? And if you made a resolution and you were like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I got to become this person. Let's say I want to be a better spouse. Let's just say that's your resolution, right? So I want to be a better spouse requires you to do like a million things to be a better spouse. Well, that's why you can't do it, because your brain is exhausted after trying to do one thing. The reason why you're not a better spouse is because in your brain, you've got tons of habits that you've conditioned over years that ultimately leads you to not being a great spouse. When your spouse does something that you don't like, you say something, let's say. And let's say that upsets them. Okay, well, you got to stop doing that. Well, you got a mental connection that is rock solid that says if you see something you don't like, you say something, right? Or you think of yourself. And so whenever there's a situation, you're always worrying about yourself. Well, you've been worrying about yourself since you're probably a kid. So it's probably a rock solid connection in your brain that says worry about yourself. Well, guess what? You're married now. And so it's hurtful. Well, there's a rock solid connection in your brain that says think about yourself. You know how hard, there's an automatic response that has been conditioned and strengthened for decades. You can't just use discipline to shut that off. That's why resolutions don't work, because it's telling you to be somebody. But I got programming in here. I can't just delete the files. This isn't like a Mac. This is my brain. I got files in there that clearly is not leading me towards the goals that I want. But it's not because I'm trying. If I want, clearly I want to get there, else I wouldn't be making a resolution about it. I've been since a kid. Whenever I feel like tired, I reach for bad food. You know how long I've been doing that for? My whole life. I eat food because of its taste, not because of its health. I don't eat cucumbers and celery sticks. That's disgusting. I reach for it because it tastes good. I'm hungry by 8 a.m, right? Yeah. My brain has a thing called 8:30. Where's my carbs? Because I put a muffin in the system every day. It's waiting for a hit of white flour, right? We're programmed to be who we are. If you are who you are, it's because you're programmed that way. It's not, you can't just put discipline and turn it off. The system's working. So you can't resolve to be different. You got to use your mind to change the system. Well, how do you do that? Well, think about it. If repetitive knowledge, exposure, actions are what makes your brain tick, all you got to do is think about a way to create new repetitive actions. It's that simple. Create a repetitive action. What will happen is that repetitive action will start to create a new neuroconnection. And that new neuroconnection will start to become the new you. You see that? Now your brain has one option. Feel tired, bad food. What if your brain had two options? Feel tired, bad food, and good food. Well, how do you do that? Well, you're not going to attack the bad food. There's no delete button in your brain. But if you create a new path and you stick to that path long enough for that path to become habituated, now you're giving your brain an option. Now, you know your brain has what's called synaptic pruning, which is over time, it will lessen connections that are not being used. So if you could find a way to create a new path and stick to it long enough till it feels like it's a habit, then what will happen is your brain on its own will create a new pathway to better behavior and slowly start to prune out the bad one. How do you do that? Well, that's called a ritual. We'll talk about it next time. Thanks for being here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in the series. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helped. I hope it really made a difference in your life. And for those that tagged us on social media and shared it, for those that left a podcast review, for those that shared it with your friends, or shared it on your status, we appreciate it. It means a lot to us that you felt comfortable enough to share this with others of people that you care about. If you missed a day, make sure to check out the show notes for the link to the entire series. You can join us on the Unlocking Greatness Insider community by going to charlieharari.com/insiders. We look forward to hearing your feedback on Instagram and on Twitter and YouTube and WhatsApp and everything else. But really, really appreciate your time and attention and look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks again.